Well, I appreciate you for being here with me. I'm so excited to speak with you. Like, I really always appreciated your authenticity through your entire story. Like, ever since I found you online, and it's funny, I see you every morning because I don't have a Peloton account. So in the gym in my office is just like the promo video that's always up, like going back and forth, and you're
Yeah.
always flashing back and like during my like 5 minute warm up during
Yeah. You're like, oh, there she
before I
is.
work out. Yeah, there she is. There she is. She's passing by.
I'm
So
reminded of
like
like seeing it.
so I've always loved your authenticity and what you share through
Thank
all
you.
your struggles and how motivating you've been for the people who've been following you and who've really found a light because of you. So thank you for all you do with your work that you did, even with Peloton, but even now, like you're onto doing things that I think are amazing.
Thank
So kudos to you, and I'm really excited to speak with you. But I have a question. How does that work? Like, you're not with Peloton anymore, but they still can use your likeness, right? So like, how does that whole
you.
thing work?
Mhm. Well, when you're kind of like like it was myself and two of my other teammates who decided not to resign, and
Mm,
we're kind of in uncharted waters, to be honest. So I don't own that content whatsoever. I
mm,
also don't get royalties off that content at all. They own it outright. I
mm,
know, man.
mm,
I know.
mm,
There, the conversation I will have is that I grew up in the film industry, right? You grew up in
mm,
LA, I grew up in LA, so we were always
mm,
around it. And I went to SC, I went to film school there. Like, I really thought that was gonna be the plan. So I was always surprised that we weren't allowed, I want to be careful with that word, but we really weren't to be SAG, which I think we would be SAG actors because of the new media deal. So
mm,
technically, there would have been a residual payout for things like that. But because of the nature of the contracts, it was very much like we were an employee, but like an on-camera employee with a salary. It was very confusing even to me and my legal team. So yeah, I don't get anything. I'm surprised I'm still up there. I don't think I should be in any of the promo stuff. So I might need to hit them up and be like, hey, I'm not there anymore. You need to take me down.
I don't know if it counts as promo. It's like when it says log in, like you got to log in, and then like it's just you,
Oh, the edit.
another, yeah, yeah, it's you, a black male, and then
Yeah.
I think there's somebody else. I
Yeah, it's
can't remember
probably
who it is, but it's like
me, AT, and then maybe Cody. Maybe. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it just repeats over
Probably
and over
shouldn't
and over.
have that up to be. I mean, it's confusing for their business, but at the same time, it's like, thanks for the free press, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
for
I
real.
think that people like kind of, if
Mm,
they take my classes are still on there, and people
mm,
take, I get tagged. Like they took that class, and then it's kind of funny because I have my new app, and then they'll say, "Oh, I took this
mm.
class too." I'm like, "Well, shoot. I mean, you're paying for the membership. I did the work. I'm actually happy it didn't
Yeah.
dissipate into nothing because I worked hard on
Hmm.
those classes."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, you did.
you know,
You
I
did.
just, everything rises, but it's a little awkward. I don't
Yeah.
really know. It's kind of like a breakup where you're like, I still have stuff over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah, that's a
know.
really good way to put it. I
Yeah.
I'm one thing I wanted to talk to you about today was I know your Peloton story, how you got started. I know you went to SC. I knew you were like um you weren't on a cheer team, right? Like you did some kind of like
Oh, I
spirit.
was. Yeah, I
You
was
were
a
the
spirit leader. I wasn't a song girl. I was a spirit leader. So then they're like the cheer team, like very cheer oriented. Song girls were all dance oriented.
Oh,
So
okay.
which I'm not gonna lie, I thought of going out for a song. I had a bunch of girlfriends who were on song, but
Mm,
that was a very intense schedule. And so I
mm,
couldn't swing that with film school because
mm,
it was pretty nuts that I did cheer and film school at the same time.
mm,
That was pretty wild. But
mm,
based off of where my mental health was, I think I was trying to find anything to occupy me and not deal with what was going on internal. So I made myself very
mm,
busy. But yeah, so I
mm,
cheered. I was a spirit leader my junior year of USC. That was also the year we fired Lane Kiffin, had Coach O
mm,
temporarily, didn't make Coach O our head coach, and then we got Sarkeesian. So it
mm.
was a very dramatic year for
Mm,
USC
yeah, that
football.
was a dramatic year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I know the story, but I want to fill the audience on the story. So tell us
Yeah.
how Peloton even came up.
Oh man. Again, this is where I gotta love social media. It all started with an Instagram DM slide from
Mm,
the company. Actually, it was Rebecca Kennedy, who was a Peloton instructor, and Cody Rigsby were Peloton instructors.
mm,
And they were casting for new talent for Peloton. Granted, at the time I was living in LA. I was a founding trainer at Rumble, which was this boxing fitness gym. A lot of people
mm,
might know they expanded pretty quick, and now they're kind of starting to close some spots, but it was on Sunset Boulevard. So I'm living in Laurel Canyon, and a dear friend of mine, he's like my lovely uncle. He is a film producer, and he was living in Laurel Canyon, and he had this, no joke, like, I don't want to call it a cellar because it sounds creepy, but it was like a semi basement. But California, we don't have basements because
Mm-hmm.
earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this probably the ceilings were like 6 feet tall, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm 5 foot nothing, so I fit. And I had my little bed down there. It was like a little guest room. I had my little hot plate and my mini fridge and
Mm-hmm.
a microwave. And I was teaching fitness at Rumble and loved it, and was living there in Laurel Canyon. And it was kind of how I like made ends meet. And then I got the DM slide from Peloton saying, "Hey, do you want to audition for to be a cycling coach?" And they're like, "Do you have cycling experience?" And I lied and said yes. I had taken 2 SoulCycle classes. I was like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, I'm clipped in. You don't go anywhere. I could figure this out. And
Mm-hmm.
so I studied up for a couple weeks. I kept going to the Peloton showroom in Century City at the mall and preparing. And then I was in New York for the audition, had audition, then meeting. It clicked. And then a week later, Cody Rigsby called me and said, "Hey, you got the job. Can you move to New York in
Mm-hmm.
a week?" And I was like, sure. I was like, I was ready to go back to New York. I was there briefly when I was training up for Rumble, but I just felt called to like open another chapter with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I launched at Peloton, and the world shut down about 3 months later. And then everybody bought a Peloton, and the rest
Mm-hmm.
is history.
Mm-hmm. See, I love when I found out about your story. I love that
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people don't understand the concept of fake it till you make it. I think when people hear that,
Yeah.
they think like fake who you are to
Hmm.
to make it. And I
Yep.
think you're a beautiful example of I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm confident enough to figure it out because that's just how I am.
Yep.
What did working at when you got that job
Hmm.
after going to the auditions and stuff, what did faking it till you make it what did you learn about that
Hmm.
faking it till you make it during that process?
Yeah, well, I had a dance teacher in LA when I was like I was on the competitive dance team for hip hop from Millennium. So you're from LA, like Millennium's a spot. Like that's where
Mm-hmm.
everybody went, where everybody trained. And I loved it. And her name was Annalise actually, and she was so awesome. And she had the most confidence in the world. She toured like with Rihanna and all these people. She was like such a
Mm-hmm.
bad. And she would say this, but she would say it's not fake it till you make it. She'd say it was fake it till you become it. And I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was really interesting because the becoming of something and the embodying of something and the making yourself something bigger isn't determined by external factors. It's really like determined by yourself and how you
Mm-hmm.
internally transform from it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was always falling into the idea it was part visualization and part like really listening to that deep inner voice that there is something more for me and I can do more than this. And I remember being so frustrated in Los Angeles before I got Peloton reaching out to me because I loved coaching and empowering people, but I was just like, I want to do this for more people. I want to
Mm-hmm.
reach more than like the wonderful 10 people I had in my Wednesday night 9 p.m. class off Sunset Boulevard. But that was my experimental class where I'd try new things and really go into more emotional sides of life and want to empower people while they're hitting a punching bag. And so a lot of faking it until you make it, fake it till you become it was really rejecting the idea of the limitations for where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so easy for us to say, well, I'm here right now and I want to go 20 yards ahead, right? Or wherever we're going. But it's easy to make excuses for the distance to get between and to find out all the reasons why you're not there yet. But more of it's embodying the idea of what will I feel like when I'm 20 yards ahead and or at the next stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because when you talk about this stuff, everyone's like visualization and manifestation and vision boards. It sounds very woo woo. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is just aligning with kind of, I want to say, I guess it's kind of the frequency of what life will be like then,
Mm-hmm.
how you want to feel. And what I've noticed in all the time I've spent in therapy and starting to like dabble and look into like neuroscience and research and learning about stuff just to kind of try to figure out how to work with my brain better is
Mm-hmm.
that when you can believe anything, you can put anything in your brain and your brain will take the steps it needs to take to discover it. So it's like when you're like focused on, oh, I want to get that new car. And it's like a red car, let's say. And then all of a sudden you go on the road and you see a red car
Red
everywhere
cars.
you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's because you put the seed in your brain that like this is what we're after, this is what I'm interested in. And so the brain always operates for a bias. It says, oh, if this is what we're looking for, I'm going to try to find examples of what I'm seeking. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so true with thought patterns. If I know I'm ready to evolve, if I'm ready to get to a higher level, I have to be so committed to what that feeling could be like, what my life will be like, how I'm going to wake up, how I'm going to move through the day. And then opportunities, I feel like, start to become more clear, or the next step becomes more clear because you've already primed the brain with what you're reaching towards.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of it. It was a lot of passion. It was wanting to help people. It was wanting to empower. But I would have these visions of like teaching these really big classes or having a lot of reach on social media that I was able to have impact. Like I had made a vision board just before I went to New York, and it was wild. Every single person that was in fitness that was on that board that I looked up to, no joke, I know all of them now. They're all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're women that had like millions of followers. You know, the app that
Mm-hmm.
I just developed, we developed with the same developers who created the Sweat app. That was my
Mm-hmm.
first fitness app I ever had that got me through transitioning from tech into fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been following that for years. So to be in the same rooms, to be surrounded by the things that I was envisioning, it's very possible. It's actually very actionable to get there.
Mm-hmm. Man, let me tell you
Sorry,
something.
that was a
No,
lot.
no, no. That was fantastic because like I was so against doing vision boards all my
Yeah.
life because to me, very, very much what you're saying, I was like, I want to do something. I'm going to put
Mhm.
my mind to it, and then I align the work with what it is that what the end goal was. But I always had these really really big goals, like get to the
Yeah.
NFL, be the first one to graduate high school,
Yeah.
get a Division 1 scholarship, etc., etc. And my mind, once I made my mind up, the only thing I had to do was work hard at the actual skills to do that. And I think
Yes.
in my adult life, um, when I got married, I started having kids, and you buy a house, you do all these other things that just doesn't take working out or doing the drill. You need a different way to see the vision because it's not tangible from it's not as tangible as sweat and bigger muscles and faster speed. So
Yeah.
my wife 2 years ago was like, we should do a vision board, and she's really big into these vision boards. I'm just like,
Love
all
it.
right, dog, like we can do it. And when we went, we went to a hotel, and like we got all the pictures and like a board, and like and my wife's really artistic, so she like made it look good and stuff. We put it on the in the kitchen, and like I actually really enjoyed the process, but I
Yep.
didn't realize how invested I was in like being careful of like what it is that we put on there, because we put it on there, I want it, so it means something to me. And we put it up in the kitchen, and I would check it periodically because we put it in like a good place in the kitchen.
Yes. You see.
I get to the end of that year, I was like, holy shit, we did
Yeah.
everything that's on the board. We did
Yes.
everything. We got a house.
Yeah.
We got the money that we wanted to make. We got the
Yep.
kind of house that we wanted. We got our marriage got better. We had the things for our kids we got. I'm just like, yo, this is like, I mean, this is when it comes to faith, this isn't the best word to use, but it was like magic. You know what I mean? But I think you did a great job of explaining. I want a red car, and then out of
Mhm.
nowhere, when you're driving, you see red cars everywhere, and that's just
Yep.
how the brain works. So I think you did such a good job of explaining that because I've experienced the vision board thing, and I just couldn't believe it. Now I'm making vision boards for everything now.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
work, for family, for everything.
And then you
How do
put your
you?
stitches on. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
How do you balance? I know you say you were raised Catholic. How do you
Mhm.
balance something like that? Like I use the word magic, and then you
Yes.
think about the faith and
With
putting your
faith.
faith in God. How do
Yeah.
you? What's that middle ground? I guess for you.
You know, this is so fascinating because it took me a lot of time to navigate what the difference was. I was raised Catholic, and then I really kind of stepped away from faith, like just didn't feel connected to it. I think a lot of us go through this, especially in our 20s. I was kind of freewheeling through life, and I'm like, yeah, cool, like church is cool. I had a great experience getting confirmed, and I went to a great Catholic church in Southern California that was very progressive, that was very very truly what I believe the best part of Catholicism is, which is very universal, very loving, really expansive, like saying all are welcome here, come together. It's all about seeking to be the most giving and loving person and living in a Christ-like way, like living like Jesus and keeping Jesus
Mm-hmm.
at the center, I think is a beautiful way. The problem with religion and the problem with a lot of other institutions is that they're led by human beings, and human beings are inherently flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And power gets into play, money gets into play, greed gets into play. And I think growing up again in Los Angeles, I saw that so early, whether
Yeah.
it be from a religious point or whether it be from film and TV or, athletics. I've watched, it's very easy to corrupt a really gentle, loving human spirit. It's not difficult in today's world. And we have social
Mm-hmm.
media, so we're constantly comparing and contrasting. But really, I felt reconnected back to my faith probably like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I
Hmm.
was working at Peloton, but I felt really isolated. I was just grinding and I had all of this success and I was impacting so many people, but I started feeling empty again. And so but I was curious. I was like, how do I balance, loving a vision board? And then you see other people are like, that's witchcraft, that's this stuff, that's
Yeah.
this. And I'm like, well, I think my perspective of it, and obviously I'm no pastor, I'm no priest, I'm no, cleric from any church, but I do think God is much more universal than that.
Mm.
And I've always struggled to think that because someone believes something different, they're gonna have a different end game life experience.
They're
I
going
don't
to hell. Yeah.
no one's going to, I don't believe that. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I truly believe that it's the human experience of trying to evolve as individuals with all of these temptations, with all of these challenges, with so much negativity in the world.
Hmm.
It takes such courage to have faith in something more, and it takes
Hmm.
courage to be a kind person. It takes courage to want to help.
Hmm.
And what I've noticed is too, it's kind of funny. I started reading the Bible again for the first time in my life, and I was like, wait a second, hold on. There's like vision board directions essentially
Yeah.
in here,
Hmm.
talking about
Hmm.
like, beware of your thoughts and like watch your tongue, watch what you speak, like that you
Hmm.
can tear down cities and tear down people by your tongue, the sword of your tongue, all this stuff. And I was like, wait, this is the same thing. It's just another application of it.
Hmm.
Right. So, like, I would argue prayer has been massive to me. Like, I pray about everything, and prayer wasn't a big part of my life. But when I'm making that vision board, to me, that's an act of prayer. I'm literally
100%.
putting on and saying these are visions that I see for myself that I know. And when you're envisioning the next chapter of your life, what's beautiful is you're inherently believing in your ability.
Yeah.
You're
100%, man.
believing in essentially, for people who are religious, what you're created to be, what God created you to be.
Hmm.
Because you're not going to put something on your vision board that's a lesser version of yourself.
Hmm.
You're thinking of yourself as full and loving and having the ability, which
Hmm.
I, with religion and with faith, particularly with me, with my faith, is always wanting to walk through the world as I was purposed to be
Hmm.
and with that purpose. And if I'm in my purpose, I know that I have inherent power, I have inherent value, and it's up to my free will and choice how I help and how I serve and how I do that.
Hmm.
And part of being able to serve others is also pushing yourself to that new level. It's also experiencing as much of your human existence as you can. So I think I just have a bit more of an open playing field of how I see things like vision boards. I don't believe they're anti church or anti God. I think
Hmm.
it's like an act of prayer. It's just another way about it. Because sometimes it's hard to visualize things as human beings.
Yeah.
I'm very visual. I need to like write things down. I love a
Hmm.
collage. I always loved the more artistic things.
Hmm.
And it's a way to give that reminder.
Hmm.
And so sometimes when I walk past a vision board, or if my boyfriend and I are going to do one at the end of this year, we have a lot of stuff that we're building together, and it's been a
Hmm.
very difficult time, and we've been stretched so much. But I want to center that with us and in our
Hmm.
partnership. But it's with that, it's like every time you walk by, I say, "Oh my God, thank God," or like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for this," or "I'm so appreciative of this," or even practicing gratitude. Like I do
Hmm.
that every morning. It was something that I told my team we had to have on the app where there's a gratitude journal that you can fill out and it's three things and it's a thought for the day and kind of an affirmation. And a lot of
Hmm.
times when I fill out my gratitude journal, it becomes a prayer. I don't
Hmm.
even realize it,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
and it's and
Mm.
so much it is giving thanks and also being present that even the things that go sideways in your life always, I do believe, happen in your favor. I see that now. I've had
Hmm.
enough proof by 32 years old that
Hmm.
the times that I thought were going to end everything really didn't. That was all for something good and
Hmm.
for something greater. But yeah, I think however you can get there and feel connected, it works. I don't believe it goes against a faith. I think it's just another way to express it.
100%. 1,000%. To me, and I think, like I was talking about, like fake it until you make it, right? And I think, and I love what you said, fake it till you become it. And I think we're all trying to figure out what it is that we're trying to become. And I think
Mhm.
that the deeper work that you do, you'll start to understand what it is that you value, that you care about. And I think when you understand what you value and what you care about, you kind of know what it is that you want to do. Like you, before you even said Peloton, you're like, I want to encourage people. And I want to do it for a lot of people because I love to like encourage and make people feel good. And I would bet that has something to do with something that you've been through that you didn't feel good and You don't want people to feel that way, so you want to give that to the world. So when you think about a vision board, a prayer, writing a journal, you're becoming, right? Like you're
Well,
becoming who it.
it's
Yes,
becoming. Yes.
yes, 1000%. So when I think about like faking it till you make it, we're all kind of faking it to a large degree because we're all trying to figure out what it is that we are supposed to be doing. So when I think, so a question I have for you is like, if someone feels underqualified, like right now, what's the
Mhm.
first small behavior that they could do to build trust with themselves or build trust
Oh,
within themselves?
I would say it's taking on it's making a small promise to yourself and keeping it. So often we
Mm,
forget a lot of self-confidence comes from self-discipline. And this is not like, run 7 miles a day. Like really,
mm-hmm,
I'm talking very simple here. Whether it's giving your time, like if you're getting overwhelmed in during the day, giving yourself 3 minutes to breathe, saying this is my thing I'm doing for myself. Or when I wake up in the morning, I will fill out a gratitude journal and I will take 3 minutes to do it. Or I will at least at the very minimum say thank you when something goes a little sideways in my life. It's a lot of rebuilding confidence because I've gone through so many phases of this with my own mental health, having so many shadowy chapters as I did and continue to. Like it's not something that goes away. I had a tough
mm-hmm,
weekend 2 weekends ago and
mm-hmm,
just I was like, oh man, I thought I got past this. But the truth is we
mm-hmm,
don't. It's part of the human experience. And it was, okay, what are the promises I can keep to myself to remind myself that I'm enough, that I can tackle these challenging and hard things, that I've made it through all my days. And when you're able to keep a small promise to yourself, it makes everything seem more applicable. Like you can't you cannot give to other people if you're not able to just keep yourself in a
mm-hmm,
full state. You'll burn yourself out. I know I've done it. I think all of us
mm-hmm,
have. We get into this moment of like, but I just need to do more. I want to give them more. I want to give them more because it's true when you start really having the success, there's a pressure that comes with it almost.
mm-hmm.
But it can come when you're not also honoring what you've done and celebrating what you've done. And not, you don't have to, go run around and be like, I'm the greatest. But believing in your own value is key. And to believe your value, to believe your worth, I've noticed for me, my self confidence always comes back when I keep a small promise to myself. So if someone's reaching for something new that seems very far and very big and a lot of steps and a big goal, go back to like what's something small that you can do to keep to yourself, because if you can keep that tiny little promise, you can tackle anything externally that will come. But you cannot reject yourself first. And I think that's something I've had to learn, especially between my chapter at Peloton and launching my business now. I really struggled with that for a bit. I doubted my
Mm-hmm.
ability for a time because I was believing, transparently, there's a lot of crazy things on the internet. I was believing some of the negativity that people were putting out there about me and objecting who I truly am and to bring faith
Mm-hmm.
back into who God made me to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were not put on this earth to not be able to handle it. We weren't
Mm-hmm.
we weren't here because we don't have a purpose. We're here with purpose. We're
Mm-hmm.
here an example of that. Like I get emotional thinking about that because then it makes you look at every person
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Oh my gosh, you're here too. You got
Mm-hmm.
picked. We all got, it's a miracle any of us are even breathing right now. If you look at like the cool nerdy statistics about someone coming into the world at this time, at
Mm-hmm.
this moment. So it inherently changes value when you
Mm-hmm.
recognize, oh, keeping a promise to myself means I'm valuing the fact that I'm here,
Yeah. And
honoring my,
yeah, and what's so beautiful about what you're saying is I think, and I want everybody to take away is like loving yourself is discipline. Like that's, and it sounds so like harsh, but it's just the truth. It's like
yeah,
one of the quotes from my life is you take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. And when you
yeah,
understand how hard it is to take care of yourself, you see why like the people around you, it's really hard to like keep up with them because you can't take care of yourself. So that little like discipline or like that promise that you can keep to yourself, I've recently discovered that in the past few years because I would make promises to the teams that I was on. I would
yeah,
make promise. I was working hard for my coaches and for my teammates or for even for my wife or for my kids, and I'm just doing the things. I'm just doing them without really checking in on like what's going on. And that's when I had my first battle with depression,
yeah,
and anxiety and like confusion and all these things. And what you're saying is 100% right. It's like take care of yourself, and you take care of yourself through these little promises. And when you make a promise, you have to keep it. You keep
yes,
promises to other people. You have to keep it, and keeping a promise takes discipline. It
yes.
takes discipline. You know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
does. It's doing it when you don't want to do it. It's also doing it when a lot of people, when you don't feel like doing it. I think we really connect to our feelings. We really believe, and I think anybody who's gone through any form of mental health chapter, which by the way is pretty much everybody. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
statistics are unbelievable. They say it's 1 in 4, but I really think it's probably 50% who've
Oh
had
yeah, for
a.
sure.
And then, if not you in that direct sense of the weight of it, we've all gone through seasons, or we know somebody that we love, so we've all been affected by it. It's just it's
Mm-hmm.
a global experience.
Mm-hmm.
But the promises that you make to yourself and keeping those, it also allows you a little space to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I do and what you were describing as well as I do the same thing. It's like you pile on. I really would love, and then the source becomes external validation,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's well intended, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this for my coaches, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my wife. Like for me, I would be doing this for the community that I reached. I felt you have to put more content out there. You have to say something profound. You have to go and have an incredible class. And it
Mm-hmm.
became have, had. And what's the shadowy side of that is that it can easily turn to should, and then it can turn to resentment
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't able to say, okay, if I am giving all of this out, what am I giving back to myself? And so then you can start feeling really small as a person because you haven't fostered your own relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the biggest thing, especially right now in life. Now that I've had the time, my chapter at Peloton was wonderful in many ways, but I knew it was time for me to go because I was like, I don't have a relationship with myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't know who I was. I knew how people wanted me to be. I knew how I could help, and I loved that. But all I was doing was almost in a way it became performative, even though it was coming from a loving place, because the well that I had was dried up because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sourcing anything. I wasn't going and doing creative endeavors. I wasn't expanding my skill set and like, I don't know, I taking on a new hobby or being creative, or I stopped playing guitar. Like I love music. I'm a huge music head. When I stopped doing the little things that make me creative. And then when I started slipping back and like, I had OCD as a kid pretty prevalently, and I would have a whole thing about having clean feet
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to walk around barefoot. And so I started having those fears again, and I had to be in socks and all this stuff. So I had these red alerts and red alarms that things were not going right because I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
taking care of me. But I was so focused on giving out to other people, and then I was exhausted. I
Mm-hmm.
would get irritable, I'd shut down, I wouldn't want to go and do things. I
Mm-hmm.
really didn't have a social life. And that
Mm-hmm.
was a sign that I was like, okay, I cannot be all of these wonderful things to other people until I honor myself first because and to bring faith back into it. If you're, I was starting to make helping other people kind of the idol. Like
Mm-hmm.
I made that an ego driven experience because it made me feel better from the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I wasn't spending time with myself.
Yeah.
So I know it's what I'm skilled to do. I know it's what I love. I know empowering others is so important because I don't want them to feel small. But the irony is that the effect of trying to empower others at scale in the way that I was not empowering myself any
Mm-hmm.
longer
Mm-hmm.
because I made that the focus. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't make the connection of both honoring myself so that I can show the way to honor others to say, hey, I'm living this, I'm experiencing this. I felt like I was preaching from a pulpit that
Yeah.
I don't have the right to be on any
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
So
What's
and taking the time to revamp was key.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is so important because I think like when you're faking it till you make it or fake it till you become it, and you're really finding out who you are, and then
Yeah.
when you become who you are, then your relationships start to change, the people around you start to change because now your whole outlook on life is like, oh man, I don't know if this is good for me or bad for me because I'm figuring out what's good or bad for me internally, and as I'm figuring it out, I look outside and I can be like, okay, this relationship actually is pretty bad for me, or what I'm doing is actually pretty bad for me because you're keeping that promise, right?
Yep.
That you made to yourself. And I saw a video that you made on TikTok where you gave a bad word an acronym about
Uh-huh. The B
boundaries.
word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought it was great. I'm like, first of all, taking a really bad word and turning it to a positive was
Uh-huh.
great. But I think what you built around it was beautiful, which is boundaries. Because I think that when you find out who you are and what you want to do, you need boundaries because all the things that had access to you can no longer have access to you. And then
Yeah.
the acronym stands for boundaries I thoughtfully and confidently hold.
Yes.
Can you tell us how did you come up with that? And where did this story come from?
Okay. So the full truth of this was at the time I was teaching at Peloton, and I actually said this in a class. And I had someone that I had been in a circle with, I had overheard, um, really speaking and calling me that word. They didn't know that I
Oh,
heard
okay.
it. And I had heard it, and my blood was boiling a little bit because I'm like,
A
excuse me.
little.
A little. I am a feisty Italian too. So I'm like, oh. But it was really interesting in the process of navigating some of these experiences in life, trying to emotionally regulate when you get something that can fuel you up. And at my core, I really identify as being a fighter. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I've had to fight for a lot of things in life. A lot of people, and I understand on perception, they're like, "Oh, I doubt that." I'm like, "No, it's been a journey."
Mm-hmm.
And I like a fight, I've learned. That's something I'm learning, that I don't need to have an enemy. I don't need to have an arch nemesis. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to play hero and, whatever. And I was like, how do I take something that I want to lash back out and I want to, slay the dragon, slay the enemy for saying something like this? And I'm like, I don't need to speak it, but what's the lesson here? And I'm like, okay, why am I hearing, why is this person saying that about me? And I'm like, oh, it's because I said no. It's because I said
Mm.
respectfully and politely, I said, no, that's not going to work for me. And I was so scared to say no to
Boundary.
somebody because it's a boundary, because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that if I said yes, I was going to be exhausted. I was going to be resented. And it also just didn't sit right in my spirit. When you get that moment, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be doing this. Always listen to
Mm-hmm.
that voice. There's something really important tied to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me respect myself. And even though I was in a position where I probably, I clearly pissed somebody off, but
Mm-hmm.
their opinion of me didn't matter. What mattered is that I'm proud of myself that I held my boundary. And so I was thinking about this, and I'm getting ready to teach. And I switched out a song for the class because I was like, okay, this song's empowering, because I knew that there was like some connective tissue there. And it just struck me as I was putting my makeup on. It was like boundaries. I thoughtfully, because I really thought about how I was going to say no to this person, and if I could, and if I should, and if I shouldn't, and all that stuff. And I was like, no, I have to. And I confidently said, no, that doesn't work for me. And that's why they had that perspective. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
great. If I'm a bitch to somebody else because I honored myself, I honored the promises I keep to me, right? What we're talking about is like spending time with yourself, then it's a positive. And a lot of times in the world today, I think everyone's very afraid to show up fully as themselves because they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hurt anybody, which I think is a beautiful thing. But you don't want to show up in the world and sacrifice your true being just for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of not being, for the to be liked. You're
Mm-hmm.
never going to be liked by everybody. And I think that's been my biggest lesson, is like, people are always going to have opinions about you. They're always going to say things 6 ways to Sunday, whether it's truthful or not. But it helps me to know I can put my head on the pillow at night because I kept the promises I made to myself. That's where
Mm-hmm.
my integrity comes from. That's where my peace comes from. And I am not perfect. I've made a ton of mistakes. I will make a ton more. But I know that I'm in process of living in that light and living in that way. And it can provide so much peace. So allowing people to not understand you is, I think, one of the most important parts of life, especially today, because that's how you have the courage to walk and honor the people that you do love,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's where energy source comes from. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
you're liked by everybody, I don't think it's possible. I think you're
No, you're
probably
playing a game. If
sacrificing
yeah,
yourself
yeah. If you're
in
playing,
another
if you're liked by everybody, you're playing a game. Every time
way.
somebody's around, you're shifting internally what you have to do, and you have to perform. You
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
perform, and that's not a good place to live. Like, people have to not like you, and not because you're a bad person. It's because everybody doesn't rock with everybody. That's just the name of the game. We all come from different backgrounds. We were all raised differently. We all have different mental health things going on. I probably had a bad day yesterday. I probably made a wrong impression of this person today, so they don't like me for it. It is what it is. So if you
Yeah.
always have to like perform, that's not a healthy place to be.
No.
If you're always liked, and people think, and here's another thing. If you're always liked, you're not allowed to have a bad day when you're around anybody, and
Yeah.
that's performative in itself. One
Yeah.
thing that you're talking about that I love, even thank you for sharing that story, by the way, too, is that story you were able to confidently and thoughtfully set a boundary. And I think a lot of people set boundaries in a way where, like, you can't do this because I said so, and it's quick, and
Mhm.
then it's probably not even a real boundary. It's just like you're
No.
being really abrasive to protect yourself, which you should do, and I think everybody does. But what would
Mhm.
you say? How does somebody thoughtfully and confidently create a boundary?
I love that you asked this. Yes, I think a lot of people, and you're spot on for saying this. A lot of people, when they set a boundary, it's more of an emotional reaction to want to
Mm-hmm.
protect. It's like throwing up the armor and saying, step off. And that's the same thing as engaging in an argument, oftentimes, even though it's a good first step. And when we all first start to build boundaries for the first time in our life, it's going to be clunky. Like I
Mm-hmm.
set some boundaries and I was like, ooh, Kendall, you were a little fiery with that boundary set. Like, let's work on maybe we didn't express it in the way that was like how we were trying to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's in key with a boundary and to thoughtfully and confidently hold something, you first have to hold time to ask yourself, what do I need to protect? You have to go and do a little bit of internal work, right? Of saying, what's the part of me that's porous? What's the part of me that's still growing? Like the way I'll describe it is like if you're, let's say you're growing a garden for the first time and you're starting a new crop of something, and it's something's a seedling and you plant it, but like you have to protect it and it's the winter time, so you have to cover it. When you're first planting something new, it takes more attention. It's no different than a baby, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they come into the world, they are so helpless, they need you for everything. Like that baby is not going to make it to tomorrow unless, someone's there to nurture and feed and all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with a boundary. Then you get to toddler stage, they can run and hit a wall at 800 miles an hour. They pop back up like nothing happened and run another direction. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
wild. So
Mm-hmm.
that's with a more formed boundary. That's more formed things about ourselves. But if we're trying to protect something new, something that's fragile, being able to say, it's putting signs up, it's protecting in a way where that if someone were to touch it, it would hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like if you have a broken, I'm trying to give like a better metaphor here, like a broken bone, it has to be in a cast. There's
Mm-hmm.
parts of ourselves, we have to see the parts that need healing. And to find those things out and to look for the parts of ourselves that need healing, we have to sometimes sit in the quiet and do a little self discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you know what to be thoughtful about, because you've seen it, you've sat with that part of yourself that's like, okay, this really kind of hurts. This is something that needs to grow and evolve. So now what's the cast that I need to put on it? So
Mm-hmm.
for example, like let's say someone's not, they're trying to have a different relationship with alcohol, and they know, oh my gosh, I love my friends and they're awesome, but everyone goes out on Fridays and then it turns into like a whole thing, and then everyone's hungover the next morning and it's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The boundary is, and what you know to be true is like if I want to change how my relationship with alcohol, I need to have a different experience with my Friday nights. I need to hang out with these friends in a different setting because I can
Mm-hmm.
love them, but I know that it's not going to give me what I want the next morning. And so the boundary is being able to say no to showing up or leaving before everyone goes, from dinner to the bar or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. And the thoughtfulness has to come from a very honest conversation with yourself. And I think that's where it gets scary initially setting boundaries, is
Mm-hmm.
really being true to yourself and having the internal conversations about where am I improving, and not going to a place of shame that I'm not there yet, but going to a place
Mm-hmm.
of curiosity and discovery of where can I grow?
Yeah,
What's the
and I think what this is like what you said earlier. What is that promise you made to yourself? Because if you
yes,
have that promise, then it becomes air quotes easy to
yeah,
keep the boundary. It becomes easier because now you have a target. You have a target that you're trying to hit. And
yes,
anytime something comes up, if you that promise to come up in your head, and now you ultimately have to make the decision. And that's why I talked about discipline. You have to
yes.
be disciplined to listen to yourself. One thing that's coming up for me is like, do you think that people who are like who break their boundaries, what would you say to someone who says like, well, I broke my bound, and they're saying this internally,
Yep.
I broke my boundaries because I'm understanding. I understand that this person need that, so I want to just put myself down to keep the peace. What would you say? What would you say to that person?
I think you just said it in how you described it. They made that other person's needs and comfort higher than their own.
Mm,
And I think a lot of times we're taught to put others first. I think it's a wonderful thing to put up the needs of others, and when people are in a moment of where they need support or they need friendship or they need, some type of support, that's fine. But when you put the needs of others before your own needs, and this is not selfish, you're abjectly saying that you matter less every single time. And it's kind of the other side. This is like this weird society thing where everyone's like, no, but you're arrogant if you do that. No, if you put your needs as a high priority, you're not a good person. And
mm-hmm,
it's like, no, no, no. When you put your needs as a high priority, you have more ability to be a better person. You probably have more energy to be more patient in traffic because you did the 5-minute workout, or you
Mm-hmm.
Get the gratitude journal in the morning so you have more capacity.
Or you said no,
Yeah, and
like
no,
you did.
no is just as important as yes. I would argue, I think no, and we've heard this before, every no protects your yes, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
true. Again, and if people want to, if faith is a big thing for them, it's like that's where like going back and reading the Bible was helpful. I was like, oh, Jesus was up preaching somewhere and everyone's like, we want more. And he's like, no, I
Chill
gotta
out.
roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, we're good. We're done.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh, Jesus said no. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't burning himself out. And,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously still his life was sacrificed at the very end. And that was such an act of love. But people understand the sacrifice. I don't think they understand that in the process of getting to that, in the process of building to that moment, taking time to say no, to retreat, to not go out, or to just take rest, to take a
Mm-hmm.
moment, to not have to be on all the time, which the world today almost demands us to be. From
Mm-hmm.
social media, we're constantly bombarding ourselves with so much information. We can't separate the external voices from our own. Like sitting with yourself and saying, I had this moment probably 6 months ago. I was like, what do I even like? Like, I know there's parts of myself that I love my pop punk music. I love my rock music. I love hip hop. Honestly, I love pretty much all music. Like I'm a music head. But I spent so much time not being around music or going to shows.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my closet and I was like, what do I even like to wear? Because I was so used to wearing all this spandex and all this stuff for work, and
Yeah.
we have like kind of a uniform thing. I'm like, what do I want to show up as? Not what's trending or what's cool or what's the micro trend and what are the girlies wearing. What the hell do I like? And the best
Mm-hmm.
thing, I was just in Nashville this past weekend for a little girls' trip with one of my best friends who I've known since college. She's seen me through every stage of life, and I've seen
Mm-hmm.
her through every stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
And we went vintage shopping. And it was so much fun because you look at these clothes that they're crafted different. They've been around, like, most things are probably at least 30 years old. You find these vintage t-shirts, these old jerseys, like this jacket I'm wearing, I found in Nashville at one of the vintage stores.
And that jacket is sick, by the way. I was gonna say
Thank you.
something,
Oh
but I
my
was
God.
gonna
It's like
wait.
an old 90s, like
No, it's
Jeff
sick.
Gordon brace. It was so cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
I walked in, I'm like, there's flames on it. It's bright blue and red. And I'm like, it's so different than anything I've ever seen. It made me happy. I'm like, I'm drawn to that. And it was such a moment of confirmation and a little bit of confidence because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put this jacket on. And it's going to be me and I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to have fun. And I think we get so rote and we wonder why we're unhappy when we're just performing for everybody else to look at us. And when
Mm-hmm.
everyone else looks at us, we actually don't stand out as our true selves. Like I
Well,
would love.
how does someone stand out as their true selves? Like, which I think what you're describing is beautiful, man. Like, I'm thinking about when I went through this, but I want to talk about me.
Yeah.
When you
No, I
say
want
how
to.
does someone when you say finding your true self, like
Yeah.
you describe all that in that jacket and
Yeah.
going to like Nashville and going vintage shopping. How does
Yeah.
someone get to that point where they can like find their true try find them true their true selves?
Uh-huh. I think the first step is always leaning into curiosity. We all have those things that we like weirdly look at on the internet or like maybe Pinterest. Pinterest is a fun spot if you want to start from that perspective or
Mm-hmm.
taking time to go for a walk or being in a new environment, which is where travel is important because it stretches us. We're in a different culture, we're around different sounds and smells and sights and
Mm-hmm.
dynamics. And even then, or going to a new part of town, like go explore. It
Mm-hmm.
all starts with curiosity. And I think the difference when we see people who are very insular and very rooted in what they believe and this is how life is and this is good and bad and in a very deep binary way, there's not a curiosity. The
Mm-hmm.
best part is like, we don't do this a lot anymore, but people used to go to a restaurant and sit at the bar and get some food and talk to the person next to them or talk to the
Yeah.
bartender. And even if that person's completely opposite in your life and you're like, wow, they're a hoot, they probably wouldn't be my best friend, but dang, this story is great. Having a curiosity about life, about people, about storytelling, about experiences, that's where we get more interesting
Mm-hmm.
because we are experiencing the world as it is. And then to bring the faith back into it, we're experiencing everybody else who also got picked to be here at the same time. And when
Mm-hmm.
we lead with the curiosity about another person, we find things that we connect to. We find things that we're inspired by. And so I would say get curious. Like if we all have a secret thing, like maybe someone wants to learn how to knit or like start coloring, just give the body a different input that stretches it just a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
to experience a new culture, a new community, a new subculture, like try a new gym, go to a new class, like just get yourself out of the rote of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in some organized discomfort, some curious discomfort would be the best way to put it, and then watch what comes up. You'll be like, oh yeah, actually I really liked that, or oh, that was so not for me, that sucked. I'm gonna do the opposite. But
Hmm.
as kids, it's funny, we're so curious.
Yeah.
And they'll run up to anyone and anything. I'm like, don't go there. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, like my nephew's gonna be in town soon. And I'm like, okay, like there's frogs and snakes and things. I'm like, I gotta watch him like a hawk. But
Hmm.
what's beautiful is the deep curiosity. And they live their lives with such joy because they get it. They understand that it's like, hi, they run up to somebody, do you want to be my friend?
Hmm.
Sure. They could be completely different and have different worlds, but they have a friendship because they were curious about each other and they're curious to know each other. So that's where I think kids are such a gift. It's like we get
Hmm.
rote as adults and who we think we should talk to and what they think and well, you're different than me and da da da. And I think that's actually killing us. We really just
Yeah.
got to be curious about each other.
I can talk about this forever. I can talk about this
Right.
forever. Go like
Right.
the one quote that I say all the time to like get people like they're like oh wow is like
Yeah.
you're not born racist. You're taught to be racist. Like so that's why I think when you're curious you have a lot more grace for people, and I think what you're saying about kids it's 100% correct. Even in the Bible it talks about how you got to have faith as like a kid. I botch the Bible all the time, but it's
Yeah.
like something
Okay.
like that.
I
You have to
cannot,
have
I'm
like
Catholic. I can't quote. I can't quote it.
yeah, okay, well
I'll do
I'm
it
doing
for
the
our
best that I
Baptist friends.
can.
They're great at it. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Terrible.
But you got to have faith like a kid, and I think kids are
Yes.
curious, and then you learn through curiosity. And you find out what you like as a kid. But I think but now you have adults telling you what you should and shouldn't do based on their own experiences. For me, what I've learned in my adult life is that life is more about unlearning than learning, because I'm
Yeah.
constantly thinking about, oh, I was taught that, and I always felt it was wrong, but I convinced myself that it was right, and I've lived my life like this for X amount of time. Let me actually ask myself the hard question if I believe that. Oh, parts of that were actually on or correct, but it was aimed incorrectly because what my mom or my dad went through, how they projected it onto me.
Yeah,
So when you
because
think,
they want to protect you. So
yeah,
they built
100%,
a
yeah.
boundary. Maybe they built a boundary out of protection, but
Mhm.
not a boundary out of self protection, a boundary out of
Mhm.
like belief protection. I think it's very easy, right? It's human nature that if something hurts us, we don't want to go back there. If we put our hand
Mhm.
on the iron, well, we're never going to do that again because we got burned. But
Mhm.
the challenge, and I think the gift of being human, is to stay curious, even if something didn't always go the way that we wanted. So, like, I've noticed this in like the entrepreneurial mindset and in building my own business. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've touched a lot of hot irons and been like, whoop, that wasn't the move. But I have to
Mhm.
go back and try another one because there's no set road. There's no set, like what you were saying early on, there's not a clear A to B to C to D in living
Mhm.
an effective life as an adult. When you become an adult, it becomes very gray area. There's not very clear decision making. But
Mhm.
what makes life more clear is going from the space of curiosity, honoring who you are at your core, and then setting those little habits and beliefs that then can stack up to get you there and
Mhm.
wanting it to be fun. Like my friend Kate, who I was just with, she said this years ago, and she went through a lot. She lost her mom to cancer right after we graduated college, but her mom was ill from the time, gosh, she was in like the third grade. So she was
Mhm.
preparing for this for a very long time, and it's really shaped her experience. But my favorite thing is that she is so curious, and she's that friend that literally goes, "It's supposed to be fun." She says it all the time. She's like,
Mhm.
"Girl, it's not that deep. It's supposed to be fun. We're late, whatever. This didn't go right, whatever. It's supposed to be fun." And it
Mhm.
is bringing that back because it is unlearning all of these things that our parents and or our communities have taught us because they want to protect us. It's coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place
Mhm.
I don't want you to hurt the way I hurt. But if we make decisions based off of past hurt, we will never get to a point where we're not hurting anymore. We're protecting the wound, but we're not letting it heal. You can't heal by putting up barriers to stop people from having the conversations or to stop people from really moving forward. And I think we're in a very interesting time right now where people have a lot of barriers up and don't want to talk and don't want to do this and want to say you're bad, you're bad. It's not the way that we're going to move forward because we have to start healing. We have to start talking about these uncomfortable things. We have to start listening to each other and also seeing the humanity in each other and being
Mhm.
curious about each other, like why, how, okay, but we might not get this together, but I do believe that you should have a right to thrive and live your life, right? Even to people that
Mhm.
disagree with us.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go and stoop to that level, not because I'm better than you, but because I've maybe lived a little bit of a different life where I can see, oh, your belief system is based in pain. Your
Mhm.
belief is based because someone really hurt you. And
Mhm.
it shifts. And then it gets really convoluted because you're like, well, then is anybody really like an awful, 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 awful person? If
Yeah,
I
or
can track
what's true.
where their
Yeah.
story came from, if I can
Mm-hmm.
pull the thread all the way back to where it's sourced, and I
Mm-hmm.
can say, wow, you went through hell and this is why you think the way you do. Wow.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Oh my
that's
God.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where the grace comes from. It's just from understanding. And I think that you have, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to your dad because I think you have one of the best quotes in the world when it comes to dealing with pain and realizing what life is. And you ended it with all your cycling classes. You know,
Yep. Yep.
life can knock you down, but it can't knock you out.
Amen.
And man, when I think about that and all the times I've been able to like get through adversity and realize everything's going to be okay and everything happens for a reason, it's realizing like I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna fall, I'm
Yep.
gonna get back up, and that's
Yep.
why I think your quote is so beautiful. And that's why I give a shout out to your dad because I know I saw that like he instilled that in you as a kid, and I know like with you getting diagnosed with OCD, I think you were like 11 years
11.
old or 11 years old, and then dealing with anxiety and depression. What has that mantra done for you through all the things that you've been through?
It's been literally it's been the source of it's been the source. That's been the
Mm.
quote. That's been
I mean,
that's
that's why it's called the name of your app, right? Like
yeah, so the
give
app
that
is
to
called
people.
Never Knocked Out Club,
Mm-hmm.
NKO. And that's when I was teaching at Peloton, a lot of people really felt connected to it. So many people have it tattooed. I don't even have it tattooed. I should get it tattooed at this point.
You should.
I know it's about time. I already have one. It's not like I don't have tattoos at all. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think what's beautiful about it was this idea that adversity isn't where it ends, it's where it begins. And it's in those knockdown moments that you discover you have a choice. You have a choice of, do I stay down or do I keep getting back up and keep fighting? And every difficult chapter, especially my worst mental health chapter, my senior year at SC, where it was almost over and I almost made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
The source was that if I can come back from that, if I can come back from feeling nothing and numbness and like life wasn't worth another day, anything that gets thrown my way from this point out, no matter how difficult, and there's been a lot of difficult things, it's the choice of getting back up. It's saying, I believe there's more. It's the belief that it can still get good. It's the belief that it can get better. It's the belief that there can be more. And that belief comes from knowing that there's purpose to everything I've done. And I've seen the connective tissue. And the most beautiful thing was my worst moment in life literally led me to what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could not have this without having experienced that. That was the doorway to this whole new path. And I had to walk through it and I had to meet it and I had to go really deep into it. And so when you're going through, any difficult situation, I learned this from my dad. He just kept going. He's just I guess stubborn, resilient, whatever you want to call it. I think stubbornness is a really good trait. Again,
Yeah.
my mom's Italian too, so we got a very stubborn household here.
Mm-hmm.
But what's beautiful is that it's beautiful to be stubborn in the belief that there's still greater, there's still
Mm-hmm.
more. And just even maybe not greater, just more experience, more life to be lived. And
Mm-hmm.
that's today I look at things so differently. And I can't take back all those years that I didn't feel much, but I can live these next years as full as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I left and I funded NKO Club completely on my own. And it scares the hell out of me sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going great already. And it's just the beginning. But it's wanting to show that there's more. You don't have to subscribe to what the past was. You don't have to subscribe to the narrative that, well, this happened, therefore we're done. People, I think,
Mm-hmm.
really have a way of living in what has happened to them and determining they take an entire like pathway of opportunities and options, and because of the belief of what once happened would always be the way that it is, they take an entire field of vision and they siphon it down to like maybe 4 inches of livable space. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us, we build these jails for ourselves, we build these small rooms for ourselves because we're more comfortable in smaller spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But when you believe that you can get knocked down, but there can be greater and you can get back up and stay in that fight and keep moving forward, it's almost scary the possibilities of how many things can come your way because everything can be renewed and restored and it can
Mm-hmm.
be beyond what you thought.
Mm-hmm. What is one small daily practice that someone can do who feels No, oh, I mean, to feel knocked out and to be knocked out, I mean, down is a real thing.
Yep.
Whether you feel it or whether it's actually happening to you. What's one small daily practice that someone can do to get up and realize that they're not knocked down, that they can stay in the fight?
Gratitude. And I will reframe it. And because sometimes gratitude is a really big word and it feels really hokey. And when I was starting this practice and I was working with the therapist through it, I hated it. I literally was like, this is so dumb. This is
Yeah.
so crazy. Oh, I'm
Mm,
so grateful for me. Like, you just
mhm,
don't, it feels so awkward. So
mhm,
it's even, I would argue it's different. It's just like, I've sometimes just say thank you.
mhm,
Thank you sometimes is easier. It's a little less of a hefty word, but it's noticing something that either feels good, inspires you. It can be like, okay, I slept for more than 2 hours last night, or I didn't wake up
mhm,
last night when I was sleeping. In the early days, it's very difficult to find that. But what's important is the building of the neural pathway that says, and that proves there's goodness, right? Like we know
mhm,
this through training. The more that you train the muscle, the more that it recovers properly, the more it builds, and the more it's functional, then you're running faster, you're more effective, all these things. But at the core, you have to break down the muscle a little bit with repetitions and with practice and with recovery for it to be able to go to that next level. The
mhm.
brain is no different. You have to build a new neural pathway. And when you're knocked down, oftentimes, like the red car thing we were talking about, you see evidence of being knocked down. You don't see evidence of how good it can get after you start getting back up. So you have to input. You literally, this is the seed that you have to input is what's the goodness, and start building that tiny little brain, this neural pathway for your brain to travel down so that they know there's another route, there's another alternative direction to the road
Mhm.
you're driving on. And with that, it stacks. So a really cool thing that I learned from a friend of mine who's in neuroscience is that you cannot be in a state of gratitude and a state of fear at the same time. So
Mhm.
when you're in gratitude, you're in your frontal lobe. You're in your creative space, you're in your creative brain. That's where all, like, when you're in vision boarding mode, you're in your frontal lobe. You're being
Mhm.
creative, you're thinking of possibility. You start can emotions, like really deeper emotions are there. When you're in fear, you're in your amygdala, which is essentially like literally our brains are controlled by like an acorn of fear. And it's about the
Yeah, I
size of,
know.
honestly, maybe smaller than an acorn, probably more of an almond would be the best way to describe it, is how big it is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's your primal fear source center. So when you're in fight or flight, when you're overwhelmed, you know how when you're stressed out, everything looks awful,
Yeah.
everything looks terrible, and you can't see a pathway out. It's literally not because there's not a pathway. You're just in the part of your brain that says there's not a pathway because it's trying to protect you. This is like the
Mhm.
part of our brains we've had from the beginning of time, where
Mhm.
saber-toothed tiger, run away. Like it's
Mhm.
full fight or flight. Like,
Mhm.
but in modern society, it's difficult. So we have to foster getting back into our frontal lobe. What's ironic is that we do a lot of repetitions when we're on social media, when we're watching a lot of news, when we're in environments where a lot of people are complaining or negative. The reason why our brain is drawn to it is because we go back into fear state.
Mhm.
And that feels comfortable for the brain and for the body because it's a primal part of us. It's been a part for forever.
Mhm.
So isn't it interesting that when we're practicing fear, that's what we're practicing. That's the muscle we're building in the gym. We're building the lack of possibility instead of practicing the gratitude, the creativity, and getting in the frontal lobe. If we spend more time in the front part of our brain than in our amygdala, the way that the world would be incredible. Like if social media were really back to like puppies and fun stuff and cool artists and cool
Mhm.
musicians, it would be so much better for us.
It's facts.
But that's not what gets eyeballs. Fear
Mhm.
gets eyeballs because it sparks to the primal part of ourselves. So I
Mhm.
would say if someone's trying to get out of a knocked down phase, you have to starve the part of you that wants to be in fear state, and you have to prioritize the part of you, the frontal lobe part of you, that is in the creative mind, that's in the possible mind. And the easiest snackable way to do that is with gratitude.
Mhm.
3 things in the
Yeah.
morning, be simple, and just that is the promise I would keep to myself. That's what got me out of my hole. It was literally
Mhm.
that practice and therapy and the other things. But that was the
Mhm.
first part of the day, and it shifted everything for me.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I love what you're saying because I think that when you're able to like practice gratitude, I think it builds on all the things we talked about: discipline, the promise, all that. Because to have gratitude means to look for the good things in life.
Yep.
Got a good night of sleep, had a good meal. All these little
Yeah.
bitty things can always get it can help the gratitude um essentially like broaden and get wider. Like that web gets wider because you're practicing how to like be grateful for the things around you. I know we're coming up on time. I want to be respectful of your time. So
Yeah, no, okay,
sorry for going over.
no, it's a
Uh,
great conversation. I love this.
Thank you. I'm glad you had a good time. I want you to talk about your app though, because like I've checked it out and like, first of all, I mean, I didn't know you could do so much. I was like, damn, she boxes, she cycles, she doing the workouts. I was like, you doing every damn thing. So just tell us a little about your app so we can get people over there because
Yeah.
I'm definitely already about to be on it for sure. I'm gonna
Oh
tell you
my
one
gosh.
thing though.
Uh-huh.
I ain't getting on no cycle. Like I cannot. I was like, bro, like biking for me. Every when I was training, my coaches would make me get on the bike. I'm just like, dude, I don't know what it does to me. It's tough.
Yep.
It's
I will
tough.
say this. If I didn't come from cycling and people didn't love cycling so much, I would not be teaching it. My kids are so bad. Like the way that I had a great PT who worked with like a lot of the guys in like the Giants and stuff. So he's working like
Hmm.
on linemen, like big boys. And he's like,
Hmm.
you have traps like a linebacker and a ropey psoas. And I was like, okay, excuse you. Number one, I am 5 foot nothing. But you know what? It's nice to know I'm as strong as those dudes too. And my traps
Hmm.
are as totally jacked. But yeah, like cycling's tough on the body, especially when you're doing
Hmm.
it at that level. But it's good for low impact for certain people. But I will say definitively, like the strength training and the boxing are like, that's my cup of tea. I came up in boxing, which a
Hmm.
lot of people don't know. They look at me and they're like, oh yeah, she's like whatever. I'm like, no, I fought people. Like there was
Hmm.
a lot going on. So yeah, so
Hmm.
my app is called NKO Club, Never Knocked Out Club. We have 5 different modalities of movement. So, like you said, cycling, strength training, boxing, both shadow boxing on a heavy bag. If someone has that, they can do it both ways. And then Pilates and Pilates Sculpt, which is sneakier than people would think. And then we have a whole mental health portion. So, that's a gratitude journal, which we talked a lot about. Actually,
Hmm.
like we built the gratitude journal on there. It's very beautiful. It's very easy to fill out. We have breath work. So, I got a science backed breath work certification this last year. And it's all about getting your breath back into your frontal lobe, oxygenating the front part of your brain. And it's incredible what the breath work can do. And a lot of them, some of them have affirmations in there too. So you're starting to plant the seeds and put the good in and start changing the thought patterns and more
Hmm.
positive self-talk. And then we also, at this point, we're adding more and more, but we have 50 plus protein forward, really yummy recipes. I'm very proud of these. I am a really good cook, if I do say so myself. And I've taken a lot of 50 favorites and made them
Hmm.
a little bit more macro dense. But we also, what's key too is like if someone is very sensitive with food and macro tracking, we don't do that.
Hmm.
You can see the macronutrients if you want, but they're hidden at start because I want to be really
Hmm.
mindful for people in the
Yeah.
community who have different relationships with food and with numbers in that way. So we're just getting started. We've been around for it'll be like I think it's like a month since we launched today. There's
Hmm.
thousands of people already that have signed up. We have our first guest instructor coming soon. We're going to be adding more modalities,
Damn, man.
adding more features. Yeah, we're full court pressing this. It's very exciting.
I'm so happy for you, man. I know like
Yeah.
that year of like not having being able to like do anything because I know you had the clause in the contract and like
Yeah.
to have that time to maybe sit and like build this thing like spiritually and mentally to have it come to fruition and see it's doing well. I know it's going to do nothing but great things. Like I really do. I think you the way that you present yourself is so magnifying because it's who you really are. You know what I mean? And you can see that when you were with Peloton. You can see that when you're online. You can see I can see it in this conversation. So I just am so happy for you, man. I really, really am. I'm excited to see what NKO Club does and for you to keep building the community that you've built, man. You deserve it because you put it all out there. And anytime you put it all out there, it all comes back. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited for you. And thank you so much for speaking with me. I really enjoy speaking with you.
So this was amazing. This was such like a confirming conversation. It always thank you for being a space where I can speak really openly too. I think that's in that year of not being able to really speak at all and now being able to talk. It's
Hmm.
I really honor these conversations because each one I feel like I get to kind of get back to myself a little bit more. So
Hmm.
thank you for that because it was also really lovely to like get to talk about faith in a way that's like really
Hmm.
true and honest, and that's something I really couldn't do before. So it means a lot. It really, really
Of
does.
course, I'm glad it was a space that you can do all that, and I hope that's what yeah, I hope that's what everybody can do when they come here.